once again, fellow Bat Nerds, to Unmask. In the next 2 episodes, we will be continuing our epic history on Bruce Wayne, better known as the Batman, as we tackle his somewhat darker adventures, I guess, as we tackle the Bronze Age of Batman, which spans from about 1970 to 1985. And just a quick reminder for anyone who's new to Unmasked, if you're looking for, our previous videos on Batman, you can find links to them in the description box below. And if you're also just interested in the DC universe as a whole, definitely subscribe to our channel and check out our first 4 episodes of Unmasked, as it basically covers everything from the multiverse, fictional geography, and of course, how these amazing superheroes and supervillains might have gotten these amazing powers that, make them so interesting. So, one final note before we jump into the Bronze Age of Batman, and that is that now, the kid gloves are coming off. As we get more into the Bronze Age of Batman, the storylines start to span multiple issues and they become a lot more in-depth and begin to really affect, Batman and Bruce as a character. And so we're not having so much of the one-off, him tussle with just a villain or whatever and then the thing's over. There are consequences to his actions. So we're going to be doing a lot more storytelling, which is, one of my favorite things, but there's going to be spoilers up the wazoo. So if you weren't signed up for that, you can click away now, or I do promise that I will mention what story we're talking about. So if you're reading that particular graphic novel or that time frame and you don't want to be spoiled, you can click away then and just kind of get the lead up to it, which is always nice. Anyway, time to move forward. So, as mentioned in our last video, during the 1960s, Batman kind of became a bit of a joke, especially with the 1966 Batman TV series starring Adam West and Burt Ward. The show was really campy, but, a lot of fun and family-friendly. However, this campiness, it kind of wore out its welcome pretty quickly, as the series only lasted 3 seasons, unfortunately. So at the dawn of the Bronze Age, in January of 1970, artist Neal Adams and writer Dennis O'Neil pulled Batman from his somewhat goofy adventures to bring him back to his gritty detective roots in Detective Comics 395, in a story called The Secret of the Waiting Graves. In this story, Batman takes on a wealthy couple from central Mexico who wish to spread strange flowers throughout the world, which have supposedly been keeping them alive and young for the past 150 years. Which actually sounds like it might be a nice guy thing to do. However, only a small percentage of people could actually survive it, with the others being infected with a horrific insanity that would soon kill them, or at least make them kill themselves. Now, Batman did defeat this villainous duo within the one issue, but the tone for a darker, grittier Batman was now set. Soon after, the writers at DC introduced a new recurring character, Dr. Kirk Langstrom, in the story Challenge of the Man-Bat, which appears in Detective Comics 400. So Langstrom's experimental bat-based serum, which he designed to help him, combat his hearing loss, would not only enhance his senses, but also had the unforeseen side effect of turning him into a winged humanoid bat. But, funnily enough, he wasn't actually the villain in this story. It mostly focuses on a group of criminals who are basically being in the wrong place at the wrong time. These criminals end up, being terrorized by the Man-Bat until Batman arrives and catches the criminals and moves on to try and help Dr. Langstrom with his unforeseen transformation. Or perhaps they just swap stories about their love of bats, who knows. As we move out of the year 1970, we get our first look at Batman's newest foe in the villainous organization, the League of Assassins. Having debuted in the pages of Strange Adventures issue 215 in 1968, the League of Assassins first appears alongside Batman in Detective Comics 405. But we wouldn't have long to wait before Batman would tussle with them once again. By issue 411 of Detective Comics, we are introduced to one of the main players within the League, as Batman encounters for the first time the beautiful but deadly Talia al Ghul, who has been kidnapped by his latest quarry, Dr. Dark. Together, Batman and Talia apprehend Dark, but when the evil doctor tries to escape and kill Batman, Talia is quick to put him down permanently. Even though she is able to slip away, Talia leaves behind a strong impression on the Dark Knight, which would not be soon forgotten. Soon after, in the same year, Batman meets and brokers a tenuous alliance with Talia's father, head of the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul, whose name is Arabic for the Demon's Head. Both Talia and Robin had been kidnapped by a cult called the Brotherhood of the Demon. Yet when both are saved, it is revealed that Ra's had orchestrated the whole thing as a test to see whether Batman was worthy to marry his daughter, and to one day become the new leader of the League of Assassins. Batman, being Batman, turns down both proposals, and of course both Talia and Ra's are not impressed. So this starts the enduring conflict between the Dark Knight and the League of Assassins. As these more serious and darker storylines continue to populate the Batman comics, a very different version of the Dark Knight was once again making its way to television, though this time it would be an animated series produced by Hanna-Barbera. This Saturday morning cartoon show, called The Superfriends, broadcast on ABC in 1973 and was directed at a younger audience. The show followed the more light-hearted adventures of some of DC's most popular heroes of the time, including Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and of course, Batman and Robin. The series would have a much longer run than the live-action Batman of the 1960s, running for about 13 years. However, the name of the show would actually change several times during that period. Meanwhile, in the 251st issue of Batman, the Joker would reestablish himself as a true terror, casting off the last few decades of campiness by escaping a hospital for the criminally insane. Freshly escaped and ready for violence and mayhem, Joker begins to kill off the former members of his own gang. Batman is able to once again apprehend the killer clown, but the stakes between the two have once again escalated. Moving on to 1976, we'd be introduced to a couple more side characters who would soon frequent many of Batman's stories, including Lady Shiva, who was introduced in Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter issue 5, who would be both friend and foe to the Dark Knight, as well as the cult leader Cobra, who debuted in his own series but would soon come to battle the Caped Crusader. Another character who shows up this year is Dr. Leslie Thompkins, who first appears in a flashback story called There Is No Hope in Crime Alley in issue 457 of Detective Comics. Befriending a young Bruce Wayne after the murder of his parents, Dr. Thompkins has continued her practice in Crime Alley, despite how dangerous it has become. And I mean, with a name like Crime Alley, she knew what she was getting herself into. But regardless of all that, her continued work provides Batman with hope for the rundown area, as well as a maternal figure that he continues to visit throughout the years. Now, while all this was going on with the Earth 1 Batman that was established during the Silver Age, the writers at DC Comics, they wanted to take some chances and decided to use the Earth 2 Batman that was established during the Golden Age to do so. So in 1977, within the Earth 2 continuity, Batman partners and marries a reformed Catwoman, aka Selina Kyle. The two of them have a daughter, Helena Wayne, who becomes the vigilante Huntress. She, along with Dick Grayson's Robin, take over as Gotham's protectors when Bruce retires from the life of Batman to become the police commissioner of Gotham. This storyline continued for the next 2 years. However, in Adventure Comics 462, writer Paul Leavitt and artist Joe Staton rocked the comic book world as they killed off the Earth 2 Bruce Wayne, who died having donned his cape and cowl one final time for one last adventure as Batman. With the death of Earth 2's Batman, the writers at DC once again focused on the Silver Age Batman of Earth 1. But as we move into the 1980s, big changes were ahead as a new limited 3-issue series called The Untold Legend of Batman would give the readers a new understanding of exactly why Bruce's parents were murdered all those years ago, which we will talk about in our second video on the Bronze Age of Batman. So be sure to come back and find out even more information on your favorite billionaire in a bat costume. Also, please remember to like and subscribe. Also, check out this video, which will explain how to enter our newest contest where you could win a signed copy of DK's amazing Batman book, Batman: A Visual History. Once again, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again.